welcome back to Strip to the Soul. Today, we are diving into a topic that I know so many of us can relate to. Pretty much all of us can relate to, let's be real. Heartbreak. One of my favorite topics to talk about because I have a PhD in it alongside attachment styles and narcissists. But specifically, the way it breaks us open and forces us to grow. And ultimately, heartbreak leads us back to our own self-worth. Heartbreak is one of those, is the most universal experience aside from death. Yet it feels so deeply personal, especially when you are going through it. And sis, if you are just listening for the first time, I have been through it. So I have a lot of wisdom to share with you. And if you are also going through it, I really hope this podcast helps you. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable. We're going to deep dive this one together today and unpack things that I feel like we need to talk about and often don't. So let's start with the unspoken truths about heartbreak, because I feel like this is what people don't actually talk about. It's the grief that you go through when you lose someone that you love. Heartbreak hurts so much because you have to grieve an identity. It challenges the identity we've built around the relationship and also with this person. We are so intertwined with someone once we start dating and we're in a relationship, like God forbid you're married, whatever it is. And so, when you come out of this relationship, your whole identity and world shifts. And we start questioning pretty much everything, like, was I not enough? Did I misread the signs? But here's the truth. Heartbreak, first of all, it's not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of what's no longer for you or no longer serving you, even if you can't see it in that moment. And so this new identity is this opportunity for us to recreate or create a new version of ourselves and a new life, like a completely upgraded one. But I know when I was in my little heartbreak in September, October this year, I could not see that. I was just, couldn't understand what had gone wrong, what could I have done better. I couldn't see, quote unquote, the light at the end of the tunnel. And I didn't see it as an opportunity for me to just upgrade myself and just become an even better version of myself, and also upgrade my life in many ways, because once you start relating with someone, your lives kind of your daily routine and your schedule also adapts with theirs. And so it's seeing that as an opportunity to, with all that free time and all that free space, have the ultimate glow up within yourself, and also take that energy back and take that time back and start pouring it into yourself. But you know what? No one was telling me that when I was going through it. So here I am telling you it. And it is like a physical thing when you go through heartbreak. I remember when I was going through my heartbreak, I was in physical pain, my heart hurt, I couldn't eat. So there was just, I was really going through it. And even science has shown us that emotional pain triggers the same part of our brain as physical pain, which is why we literally ache. And also, there's also this grief that you go through, like I was saying. So you're heartbroken, you're grieving, and then all the shame comes up. And I feel like we don't talk enough about how heartbreak can make us feel like we failed, because that's what I was experiencing when I was going through my heartbreak. I hadn't done enough, or I could have done things better, or maybe at this point I could have communicated differently, and that and this. And I started questioning myself because I cared, which is a beautiful thing in hindsight. But heartbreak isn't a failure. It's truly feedback. So during this questioning, I had to really rethink how I was asking these questions to myself. So rather what did I do wrong? More so, what can I learn about myself and what can I do better next time? And I do feel like sometimes it's life or the universe's way of nudging us to reassess ourselves and realign with our true self, because sometimes you can lose yourself in relationships, and also recalibrate a little bit. And personally for me, I have found heartbreak to be one of my biggest teachers, in the sense of a teacher for my growth as a human. And the more connected and open I truly became with myself, the more I found the heartbreak to hurt almost compared to when I was younger. So it was like the more self-aware I became and the more conscious I became, the more spiritual I became, all of the things, I just found like these heartbreaks are getting harder and harder. And I know when I was younger, I didn't really care so much. I would, end it with someone and I would be okay. And that is because I believe I wasn't truly connected to myself. And in ways, I do find it a blessing and a curse. So my fellow empaths can relate to me on this one, because I do feel things so deeply. And I really do value the people that I have in my life, especially if I'm opening up myself and loving someone. But also I have really realized that I need to tell myself that this heartbreak, is hard and horrible as it is, it's such a beautiful thing to recognize that you only feel that way because you opened yourself up enough to allow someone in. That's incredible. Now, maybe I need to make a whole episode about how to be a little bit careful with letting people in so we don't get our hearts broken so often. However, there are circumstances, we can't control other people. And it, like I said, it's just one of these universal things that happens. So, of course, that's going to happen. But I do feel like we do have a responsibility to, be mindful, but also not hold back. And I think that's what I'm saying with this one, that it's really beautiful to get to experience heartbreak, because it also means that you got to experience love. So with the heartbreak that I have experienced this last year, I went through like 2 big heartbreaks and then one like dating situationship that I was a little bit gutted over, but I didn't break my heart over this guy. And I do reflect back on this year and in my late 20s, and this is when I started to learn all these lessons about heartbreak when it comes to love and situationships and relationships. And my heartbreak last year, when I first started this podcast, it was truly the catalyst for this podcast. It cracked me wide open. I realized how much of my self-worth I had placed in someone else's hands, and I'd allowed their validation, their love, and their moods to dictate like how I was feeling and how I was feeling about myself without even consciously realizing it, because when they didn't choose me, I was feeling some kind of way about myself, or when they did what they did. Moving on. And when it all fell apart, as it was naturally going to do, I was left with this really uncomfortable question of how much of me was to play a part in this, in terms of allowing what I did, like the devastation of the heartbreak. I had to take responsibility for how bad it was hurting, because I also allowed someone to do those things, and I also stayed in something that was painful. But say something like this year, I was really beautifully vulnerable and open, and I still experienced heartbreak, but I could walk away from that feeling, proud of myself and not devastated and questioning myself so much, because I know I had shown up as the best version of myself. And it was within looking inwards last year and answering these questions that I began to rebuild myself. And I started to see that my worth doesn't come from being chosen by someone else. I do have to remind myself of this, and I do believe we all do. And I'd neglected and gave parts of myself to someone who hadn't fully earned it or deserved it. Trying to, become more conscious when it comes to relating, and not let my lover girl, like ADHD heart, fall too fast. But with that falling in love fast, I have really developed some good skills when it comes to the space of relationships. Heartbreak, as painful as it was, it has become my teacher, like I said, and it showed me parts of myself that I'd neglected, and it gave me the opportunity to nurture them. So for that, I'm so grateful. So it's finding that gratitude in the heartbreak when you are in it. One of the things that I did say was how I'd let my boundaries slip in the name of love, and often this can make heartbreak a little bit more painful, because then there is some personal responsibility to take. I had wanted to be that easygoing, low maintenance and accommodating girly, in truth, to keep people there. So if you are someone who's trying to play it cool, be low maintenance, act like your needs don't matter, it's probably because you have an anxious attachment and you are trying to not cause any issues to keep people there because you're afraid of losing them, but it's actually your anxious attachment that's afraid of losing them. Because if you were secure, you would have no problem speaking your truth, because you wouldn't care if someone left or stayed. Of course you want them to stay. However, if they're not going to honor what you're needing, what your needs are, then they're obviously not the right person for you. But in doing so, I had abandoned my own needs because I'd convinced myself that certain things weren't a big deal, when truthfully, deep down, that they are, and they were destroying me. And if you're someone who stays quiet about, your feelings to avoid someone running away, it's probably because they're avoidant. And then at the end of the day, you're the one who's hurting yourself. And heartbreak forced me to not only get a PhD in anxious attachment and avoidance, it forced me to reflect on this. It is not selfish to have needs, and it's not demanding to have boundaries. I had to really come to peace with that in myself, that I'm not being too much, or I'm not being too loud or too demanding to ask for something that I need. In fact, those things are essential, and actually men respect boundaries, and women, when we set them, you will gain a lot more respect from a man, because he's going to know that you're not easy to play. You're, self-aware, self-assured, and you're confident, but it's how you say it. You have to speak in a feminine way. When we're, teaching people how to treat us if they need some assistance, even if it does feel uncomfortable. And it does sometimes, but I always remind myself and my girlfriends that the right person won't just tolerate your boundaries. They will respect and value them, and also you. So they might not agree with what you're saying, but they will be open to hearing. And also a mature, a secure, and respectful person will come and they'll find a way to make it work, or understand why you might need something. And that is what a healthy relationship is. So if someone doesn't want to hear it, is saying, I'm not dealing with this is too much, I feel suffocated, all of these things, you first need to check yourself and ask yourself, am I communicating in a healthy way, and have I been respectful of someone else's space and autonomy? And if this is true and they're just being, avoidant and reactive, that's your cue to exit stage left, or set a pretty firm boundary that if this doesn't get resolved, that you're not going to put up with it anymore. But in a feminine way, because heartbreak helped me step more into my feminine energy. I'm not just talking about, being pretty or soft. Feminine energy is about flow and intuition and receiving. It's about being in touch with your emotions as a woman, not allowing your emotions to control you, but being in touch with them and then creating space for them rather than suppressing them or, being reactive. And when I was in my heartbreak, I still think there's remnants of it there, to be honest, but I realized how much I had been operating in my masculine, always trying to fix someone, solve problems, or prove something. And all of these things are so masculine. But by stepping into my feminine energy, it meant I was learning to trust myself. I fully took my power back. I started trusting myself more and trusting my intuition, knowing that I would know what was up if I tuned in. And I also trusted in something far greater, that what is meant for me won't miss me. And I had to get very clear on what I wanted in a partner, and I had to start to align myself to that, because if I'm operating in a masculine energy, I'm going to attract a feminine man, or a man who's not going to feel polarized towards me as a woman. And it doesn't come from a place of desperation, trying to win a guy. It should come from a place of confidence and self-assurance within yourself. I talk about this in my course, Romanticize Your Life. I go into so many details, but you need to learn how to shift your focus towards yourself and know that this is going to not only help you heal, but also then attract in a healthy love when you are ready for that. After the heartbreak that I went through last year, I have been trying to intentionally relate and date better. So although I may be a little bit later, I feel, than some, I really started putting myself out there this year. Like, I downloaded the apps, I started putting my heart on a line a little bit more, like not being afraid to be really honest with what I wanted in life, like saying I want to be a wife, and I'm looking for a partner, I'm looking for like a serious relationship. And for someone that might be too much, but for the right person, it will be everything they want and that they prayed for. So this is why you need to speak your truth, so that you can attract in the right person. And you have to really recognize the worth that you hold as a woman within you, and know that like you're so deserving of a healthy relationship. Like, ultimately put some respect on it, and put some respect on yourself, and know that if someone has hurt you in a heartbreak, that is their loss because of how incredible you are. When you know what you have to offer, and you know how incredible your soul is, losing someone, it shouldn't bother you, because they're the ones that are missing out to be like with you in life. And that is an absolute blessing. And that, for me, that was the game changer. This year, when the guy who told me that I was going to be his wife ended it with me, and that happened. At first, of course, devastated. And then I realized I'm incredible. I'm as loyal as they come. I'm so thoughtful. I'm so nurturing. I'm so sweet. I'm funny sometimes. And I love being with me, and I just know my heart. And so I was like, that is his loss. And I was able to get over it in such a healthy way, where I wasn't ignoring how I felt, and I wasn't pretending. It was really from an authentic place. And I really pray for that for you as well. But that comes down to seeing the worth that you have within you, and seeing how special you are. So amongst all the heartbreak and the pain of, navigating heartbreak, it is a gift as well, because you do gain clarity and you can grow. And when you've had your heart broken, you start to see what you don't want in life. And that is so powerful. It is important to focus on what you do want, like I said, like getting clear on the kind of energy and relationship you want to be in, and like aligning your energy with that. But when you go through a breakup, it is that chance of a fresh start, and to reevaluate with yourself what values and qualities matter to you most in a partner. Because when I went through my heartbreak last year, I was like, okay, non-negotiable are these things now. Like, I am not accepting anything less from a man in terms of like loyalty and integrity and those sort of things. And you also have to be that kind of person as well. I will say that it's not just all on them. But for me, it was doing the inner work. It was healing my old wounds. It was practicing self-love, and also getting honest with myself about, maybe potential patterns of attracting in, avoidant men, or how I'd been repeating certain patterns in terms of like tolerating their avoidance and silencing myself. And I had to really see that and then make a change. And I had to start to let go of the fear, I guess, of that I'd never find someone else, and trust that if this person's not meant for me, someone else is, and they're going to be better. And I'd rather be alone in that moment and than unhappy in a relationship that, isn't what I truly want. Because only you know the type of love that you want. And I know it's possible because I'm embodying that love. Like, I have that much love to give someone, so I know that that love is possible for me. And so you need to remember that as well if you're going through a heartbreak, or you're in your healing journey, that like something not better is going to come along for this version of you. Like, that relationship might have served you at that time, but right now, for whatever reason, you're being upgraded, and you have to upgrade with it. Like, you have to be the one who's going to take radical responsibility and also choose to upgrade yourself in the process. So if you're in the midst of it, I want you to know that it is okay to feel shattered. It's okay to grieve. I was so broken, but we're here. We did it. We made it. But know that this pain is not the end of your story or the end of you. It's truly the beginning. And I can honestly say, I'm speaking from experience here, it is the beginning of a new chapter. And this chapter, I'm saying. It's you're going to step into your worth. You're going to set stronger boundaries in the future, and you're going to attract in a partner that's more aligned with the love that you truly deserve. I'm having it no other way for any of us, because that is, up to us to be the one to say, no, I deserve this, and I know what's available for me, and not settle for anything less. And that knowing that if someone, for whatever reason, isn't in your life anymore, that it's for a reason, and if they're meant to come back, they will come back. But we're not going to wait around. We're going to upgrade our lives, and then they can come and find us if they want to. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode has resonated with you and given you a little bit of comfort and clarity if you are going through it. If it did, please do share it with someone who might need to hear it. And always, you can find me on Instagram or YouTube at The Jade Life. And my courses will be in the show notes as well. So until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are whole, and you are so loved. Bye.